1, two, three. All right, we're not doing the whole fucking thing. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ritual Chamber. I am Josh, this is Jeff, and today we are going to be doing our review on Morbius, not the living vampire, just Morbius. So why don't you go ahead and take a bite out of the synopsis for this film here.
You really like saying the not a living vampire, don't you?
It's great, you know. I mean, it wasn't in the title.
I get you. All right, so Michael Morbius is a world-renowned scientist and doctor who suffers from a genetic disorder which basically paralyzes him and causes him extreme pain and limited mobility. Kind of like polio. After experimenting on vampire bats, because of course it has to be vampire bats, he discovers a way to harness on an anticoagulant type thing from their anatomy, which cures his condition but also makes him a bloodthirsty vampire, and he's learning to deal with that.
Okay. So was that your thesis for your doctorate or the synopsis for the movie?
Both.
Okay. Yeah, you used some really...
I used anticoagulant.
I mean...
Yeah, I had to Google it.
Yeah. So yeah, Morbius. Let's go ahead and dive into this movie.
Initial going in takes.
Yes. Initially going in, there was one thing that I thought about this movie, first off, before we even get into it. When it was initially slated to come out in January or February?
I can't remember.
It was initially slated to come out early at the beginning of 2022.
Yeah. Wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
And it got pushed back. So I remember when that happened, my initial thought was, this movie's getting pushed back because it's not good.
Well, that's the go-to.
Why movies generally get pushed, right?
Well,
and especially it's getting pushed out during a time where there's not a lot of good movies. Generally don't get released around this time.
And as I said to Josh vocally in the theater, there was kind of a whole thing going on that went on through the entire world. But, bad movie. Obviously it's got to be a bad movie.
Well, yeah, but Batman still came out when it was supposed to.
No, it didn't. Batman was pushed too.
Okay, but I mean, they put it, whatever. It's hearsay. Anyway, then obviously going into this, I hadn't really looked at the reviews for this until the day that we were going to go see it, the day before we were going to go see it. And come to find out that this movie has really bad reviews. Yeah. I think the last time I checked it was at 16%.
Yeah, no, it was... I think after you told me that, I looked it up and it was it was 19%.
Yeah, so it was not doing well from the critics. But that being said, I did not feel that this movie was that bad. Maybe it's because my expectations were low going into it, but I'm going to say I fairly enjoyed this movie. It was not as bad as I had thought it was going to be.
I didn't really have any expectations, to be honest. Morbius is a character I don't really know too much about. I remember the Midnight Suns when I read comics as a kid. I mean, I've read comics up until I had kids, really. But that's what I remember Morbius more from, or one of the parts of the Marvel Zombies, and a couple other things, and obviously the 1990s Spider-Man show.
Mm-hmm.
I think more in my sort of edgelordy days of being sort of goth as a teenager, that's where that's when I liked Blade and Ghost Rider. And stuff.
Well, Ghost Rider's still dope.
Well, no, Ghost Rider's always dope. So don't shit on Ghost Rider, but that's my sort of linkage to this is how edgelordy I was. I liked Vengeance more than Ghost Rider. The bad Ghost Rider.
Yeah, the bad Ghost Rider.
But that's my only real knowledge. So it wasn't I was kind of meh. I like Jared Leto, so cool.
Okay.
I'm down to see Jared Leto be a vampire, and have it be, and not an MCU movie, but a comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have any real opinion going in, or any real expectation. But overall, I'm gonna save something till the end, or till later, obviously, but. Overall, I enjoyed it until the ending, which assaulted my opinion of this movie so hard that literally I was just angry. I was angry when I got home. But for the most part, I kind of actually enjoyed it. So
yeah. So
there's some which we'll get into. There's some wishy-washy stuff. I mean, you can tell, especially talking about delays, there's definitely a lot of stuff about editing. You can tell there's a lot of stuff that was cut. Certain story beats kind of don't make sense, or, you know, typical stuff. You see something in a trailer and it's nowhere in the film.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of that
and
in this.
Perfect example when we're starting off in Act 1. I mean, so we meet Michael Morbius. He's a sick child in Greece. They don't exactly say he's Greek.
Yes.
I don't know if he's American or whatever.
They don't really disclose his
ethnicity. Not that it matters.
Not that it matters, yeah. But, I mean, he's a sick kid. Why is he in Greece? Where's his parents? We don't know.
Well, everyone else has accents around him, except for him. It's
weird. Yeah. And most of them are English.
Yes.
So
also in Greece.
Yeah. I mean,
makes sense. You can holiday in Greece, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever.
Sure, yeah.
They clearly specialize
if you're taking a lad's holiday.
Yeah, a lad's holiday. They clearly specialize in whatever his
disorder
is, which they don't really ever touch on. And that was the other thing, like the way, I don't know, again, editing. I always kind of catch editing shit. It's kind of like my bread and butter. Like when I watch movies, I am paying attention to things like editing and cinematography and stuff like that. That's just the way I am. But it's, you know, starts off actually in Costa Rica, like a la Jurassic Park, of him collecting bats.
Yes, and it's a good point that you bring that up, because it's really never revisited at any point in the movie.
Well, it is in the fact that he has a shit ton of bats in his lab.
Yeah, obviously that, but there's no, how did he bring them back? Why was he?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What was the? I mean, obviously that we know the importance of him bringing them back is trying to splice the DNA.
Yeah,
DNA
and
I mean,
you know,
genetics.
I'm no bat expert, but I'm pretty certain cutting your hand in front of a cave isn't just going to call out a bunch of bats.
Yeah, I would assume that would not be the way to do it.
Not the way to do it.
Especially, I mean, if we're assuming that they're nocturnal creatures and it was daylight outside also.
I mean, assuming, yes. We assume it because they are.
Yeah. so
and just, you know, a trickle of blood from Jared Leto's sexy palm isn't gonna whatever. Isn't gonna do it. I mean, he wasn't sexy then because he was, you know, all decrepit.
So.
So then we get introduced to his stuff as a kid, and he keeps apparently every friend he makes is Milo.
Milo, yeah.
Which is just silly, but whatever. I'll allow it. And then he's immediately getting, you know, presented with a Nobel Prize, which apparently he disses them for. Which is funny because him standing at the podium was in the trailer. It was like he gets called up to the podium. And then just cuts away to something, and now for something completely different.
Yeah. And now for something I hope you really enjoy.
And they're talking about that like you diss the whole nation of Sweden. But what did he do?
And you know what, I think
silly.
It's funny because with this movie, obviously the runtime was a lot shorter than the last movie which you've seen, which was The Batman. Both bat-related movies that we're
a lot of bats.
That's crazy.
Just, you know.
We're kind of going a little batty if you can't tell. Yeah, I think one thing that I found with this movie, I agree with you completely, is the editing was really off because the pacing of this movie was it was just all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see where there were some elements where they were trying to really make you like care about characters and form relationships and developments, and it just started like it was like playing like Pong.
Yeah, there were certain
Arkanoid. You're like ding ding.
There were certain times where
there's 3 balls on the, you know, like he's green now.
There were certain times where like I couldn't kind of tell where this movie was going. Like what was
right.
I don't know.
And so I think that with the first act of this movie though, I actually did like it. I liked what they were trying to do. How he was, you know. His idea was to help save people, and you know, so you get
it's cliche sciencey stuff.
It is for sure.
Because obviously, so he I don't know. Again, he's determined that this hormone or this gland inside vampire bats can help him. Fine. He's hoarding a bunch of bats, and it's really funny that they make a point about how unethical it is for him to be having all these bats and experimenting on them, but then literally he injects it into a mouse, which is experimenting on an animal. So why make a huge deal about it being unethical to experiment on these bats and then inject it into a mouse, but then have a lab rat?
I mean, typical science stuff. I guess we both don't work in labs, so I can't really relate to it.
It's not typical science stuff. It's typical movie science stuff.
Well, but that's typical movie science stuff. Yeah, science. You know. But again, I mean, I really liked the way that this movie started off. Yeah, there was some editing issues for sure.
I don't even really call it an issue. I think it's just one of those things where, yeah, I think they probably just wanted the runtime to be like,
a little bit.
I think
shorter.
they probably didn't have faith in it and just wanted the runtime to be short.
And those were areas where, honestly, in this movie, I would have liked it to be a little bit longer. To be honest, and I think it could have been, and I think it would have actually done better for the movie. This is a rarity. I rarely say something like that.
Yeah.
But this is one movie where I think the runtime being a little bit longer would have worked, because it's an origin story, right? Mm-hmm. So with origin stories, you have this difficulty. You're introducing a character, but you're also under the assumption that people know this character, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you might just want to push through it, get in the major stuff, and then get to basically the character coming to his own so that you could do another movie.
Yeah.
I felt that this movie could have really benefited from developing the origin of the character a little bit more, and Morbius, trying not to just get to the end.
Morbius is a character that not very many people know. Probably people of our age or maybe a little younger probably more remember him from the 90s cartoon, unless you were a comic book nerd like we were.
They might Morbius remember him from a...
Waka Waka Waka.
I'll be here all night.
Yeah. But yeah, like I agree with you. Like there are certain aspects that I will get to in a little bit when we get kind of moved through the acts and stuff, through the movie, that they could have spent less time on.
Yeah.
And focus more on him, because I mean, like literally, so is experimenting on bats, finds out that he tests on the mouse.
Finds like the stable genetic.
Yeah, he tests on the mouse and it gets stable, and then immediately goes to Milo. Milo's back. Milo goes to college. Yeah. Well, apparently this Milo went to college and did everything else because he's somehow rich,
very wealthy,
very wealthy, and their benefactor and their funder for all of his projects in his hospital and the labs, Horizon Labs.
Yeah.
Which is weird because again, never explained. They kind of make a joke that he never. Like, he was his lawyer.
Yeah, he was his lawyer, but he never
finished lawyer school.
Yeah, he never got his JD. Yeah,
he never finished lawyer school. I just said that. Those words came out of my mouth.
Law school.
Yeah. But so he finds out that this experiment works. It's stable in this mouse. But then they have to go to international waters to do it on himself.
And let's put in a thing.
Like you're a groundbreaking like scientist, like a Nobel laureate, and I don't think laureate's the right word there. So. A Nobel Prize winner and a groundbreaking like physicist and scientist, and like you're working, like you're literally working on this. If you have a successful test, there's protocols here, and I get that he wants to rush. You don't have to go to fucking international waters. You have your own fucking lab. Shut yourself up in your lab, bro.
Yeah, and even outside of that, let's define international waters. I mean, he was 13 miles off the coast of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how international are we going?
You know there's some maritime rule about like how many miles you have to be offshore.
I know that there is, but I'm just saying that let's be honest with the fact of
monkey knife fights, bro.
Of international waters. I mean, there's a lot of you said.
It's ridiculous.
Why did you not just go 13 miles up in the air in your lab? You know what I mean? It's silly.
And you have your own lab, which also has privacy glass on like everything.
Yeah.
Just fucking.
Except for the fact that for some reason, when Martine finds out that he has a bunch of bats in this contained environment, the nurse that eventually ends up biting it, she runs in and she doesn't see a giant tank of bats in a contained environment. But that's
either bad storytelling or just like
and just didn't care. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure really what the reasoning for that was. But so that kind of obviously we get into this. He's in this container ship and he's going to inject himself with. For some reason, he only makes 3 vials.
Which why? This. Well, I mean, okay, so 3 vials. I think I'm assuming the one was for the kid. One was obviously for Milo.
Okay, yeah.
The one was for the kid that he was attending to in the hospital.
Okay, now that makes sense. I didn't think about that, but
that thought literally just put in my brain that literally.
That is some prime detective.
I never. Well, it's funny because one day you brought it up, and I actually I noticed there were 3. I never thought about what the third. I never thought about it.
Right.
And then, like literally, right when you said that, it hit me, and I was like,
okay, and that makes sense. But so then, he on the cruise ship, and
It's like a barge.
It's a barge. It's whatever. There's some mercenaries on there. They're playing cards.
Again, why is that a mercenary?
I know, right? I mean, it's
they make it so like unnecessarily shady.
Yeah, like he's not, like you said, like he's not world renowned.
Yeah.
Right. So it is kind of silly. I didn't really process that during as we were watching this movie.
Fine, whatever, fine. I mean, you do it because you want the action scene of him turning into a vampire and killing a bunch of mercs.
Yes, and that's really what you want.
But again, it's kind of like he takes it and then immediate vampire. It would have been a lot cooler, like kind of what you were saying, like flesh it out. He's, kind of more akin to what it was like in the comics, where he kind of slowly starts becoming a vampire.
Exactly, and I think that's kind of like one thing, obviously, like as we're kind of progressing almost from the first act to the second act.
Yeah, this is
him becoming the vampire, becoming Morbius. Vampire, because he's already Morbius. But him becoming...
How lazy, just use your last name.
The living vampire. When he meets Milo... And he tells him he found the cure and whatever, and he's doing all these experiments on himself to figure out how long he could last with artificial blood before he craves human blood.
And that was that little montage was really cool, because he is really trying to, like, he's really just going through the scientific method of, like, trial and error. Mm-hmm. Let's set my clock and see. I think they put a little bit too much of a unnecessary ticking clock on the plot.
Yes. Yeah.
With making it speed, like the amount of time it takes between feedings getting faster and faster and faster. Like in the matter of, I don't know. I think the span of this movie only takes probably about a week.
A week is I think roughly what they came at to the end. Yeah, so it's like,
which means he's done all these experiments on himself in probably a day or two.
Yeah. Figured out how to use the
echo
location. Yeah.
Or sonar, whichever.
Sonar, yeah.
And figured out how long it'll take for him to starve. And just so happens that Milo happens to just stroll into the labs when he's basically starving himself to see how long he can go. Mm-hmm. And of course, Milo, played by the legendary Matt Smith. Mm-hmm. Of course he sees that he's strong, and he wants to cure. And here was kind of another stupid choice they made. It was obvious once he left that room, mm-hmm. he had stolen it.
Yes,
he had stolen the cure.
Mm-hmm. And some blood for himself.
Morbius had to take a spinal tap in the back, as opposed to in the front. I'm just full of dumb today. And Milo, did he drink it? Did he grab a needle and just inject it? Maybe he didn't have to do it in the spine. Who knows?
Yeah. See, the thing where I got lost in between their interaction there was, this is before the nurse dies. The nurse, I can't remember her name.
I don't
character's
think,
name, but
I think the FBI agents say her name.
They do at some point, and she's like a single mom, and he's like, oh, I've worked with her for years, whatever. This is before she dies, and again, we're assuming this takes place in the span of weeks, right?
No, I'm like a week.
And one thing that I found really funny in this was when he tells Milo, "Oh, it's a curse. I've done some bad things." What you ravaged a bunch of mercenaries on a cargo ship, and that was like the worst.
And it's funny. So
that was like the most terrible thing you've done. You've been this beaten for like 2 days.
I know.
Well,
so, and even though the one,
why is it a curse?
The one FBI agent, Al Madrigal, he points out, he's like, so the FBI is investigating this ship because it comes back. Martine, his friend, doctor, girlfriend,
gets
love
injured.
interest, got injured through the fray.
Yeah.
And it comes back with a bunch of dead bodies, and she's the only one alive, but she was knocked out, blah, blah, blah. So the FBI is investigating it, and he even says, and two FBI agents are Tyrese Gibson and Al Madrigal. Al Madrigal's always like just funny and stuff.
Yeah.
And of course he's funny in this.
Mm-hmm.
But
brings the holy water.
Yeah. But so they're investigating. They're like immediately. They're immediately suspicious of Morbius, Michael Morbius, and they're even saying like, yeah, if a boat shows up with a bunch of dead mercs, we don't really care.
Yeah, but supposedly they do care.
Well, no, like they're just one. I think they're just we're just trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
And, obviously they never would have guessed vampire.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, again, to me, it was just silly. This is a curse. I just thought it was overdone. And this is, again, where I think this movie could have succeeded, was watching him progress into that.
Yeah.
Not just, hey, I'm Morbius, now I'm a vampire, I'm killing a bunch of people on a ship, because whatever was going on with him. Primarily, I think what angered him was when he saw Martine on the ground, and then he feeds.
Well,
or whatever.
He's already straight up. He's already straight vampire.
He's feeding into the his animal instincts and whatever, and then
and that was a cool little horror scene.
It was great. I mean,
it had rad alien, like a lot of alien vibes.
Yes, it did. This movie did, and I really liked that.
That scene did.
But yeah, then just it was like in one day it was like he knew that it was a curse or something like terrible, and to me, I was like, that just seems kind of silly. Like, you've been this character for not that long. So, again, for me, I think one of the areas where, like you said, the editing really didn't benefit this movie. And I really think that had they kind of, like, fleshed out the character more, it could have been more beneficial.
Yeah. Then the nurse, this is what you alluded to, the nurse dies.
The nurse dies,
gets killed.
which, again, in a very kind of cool way. I mean, it was very, like, done well, like in a horror aspect.
I don't know who would have lights like that. So she's walking down a hallway and like basically it's like I don't know, she's stepping on pressure plates.
Yeah.
It was basically like Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, but on the ceiling, but in a completely dark hallway, and she thinks someone's following her and turns on the lights and no one's there. Of course, obviously, classic horror trope. Love it, always will love it. And then she gets eaten. Obviously, I knew it was Milo.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was Milo.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Morbius waking up, and then now the FBI, like again you said, they don't care about the mercs, they just want to know what happened. But now this nurse shows up dead.
And now they actually have to do their job.
Immediately sus of Michael, and then of course he goes running. So of course there's more. He looks. I mean, walking after a murder and walking out of even if it's your own building with your hood up. And your backpack and a backpack, like that's a to-go bag.
Yeah. And so then that leads us into Morbius being. I think they were trying to really dive into his character as being like what he is in the comics is an anti-hero.
Yeah.
And we have this. Sure, you could suspect that it was Milo. We don't know that obviously until the reveal that it is Milo.
But it was cool the way they did that. Like they cut directly to him waking up, so you could think
that it was him, and that was again
he's not in control. But again, editing,
yes, and again where this movie would have benefited, him becoming an anti-hero, is that he made some wrong decisions and had to learn how to deal with those and how to be somebody better.
Yeah,
and so I think again, whatever. That's where this movie could have benefited, but it is what it is. So we basically got him on the run, and we find out that Milo has also
in a tricky switch.
Yes, he duped us.
He duped
his
old friend Michael.
Yes, and everybody in the theater, but especially Michael. And we find out that Milo.
Which is a really cool way he did it. Like he has his cane.
He has his cane, leaves the cane there, and the acting.
Forgot to mention Michael is in prison at the time.
The acting is who's the actor's name? Matt Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him in some other things. I'm not a big Doctor Who fan, so sorry. But he's a great actor, and I thought he played this role really well until for me. In the second act, once you find out that
now we're entering the third act. I mean, this is basically the third act. The third act is them.
Well, no, because in the second act, you're still getting the idea that Milo had taken this.
Okay, well, so yeah, maybe like their fight.
Yeah, and you find out that he had taken this, and he turns into
a complete fucking megalomaniac.
He literally turns into Tobey Maguire. A la Spider-Man 3,
there is that
when
scene.
he gets the symbiote.
No, it was
a little cheesy for me.
That was one thing that bothers me. That did bother me a lot. Is your primary antagonist being the best friend or whatever. I mean, hell, they made a joke about it in Far From Home.
Yeah,
and all the Spider-Man movies have done that.
Mm-hmm. They have. I mean,
But it's funny because he takes serum and immediately just goes megalomaniac.
Yes.
Now maybe it could
also
be
carnage.
Yeah.
And let there be carnage.
I mean, he already was, but
I mean, this was a Sony movie.
You could argue that maybe a lot of his money or whatever that he had. I mean, they do imply that that one of the guys is a mob guy in his apartment earlier on. Mm-hmm. So maybe he's into something dirty, but I don't know. It's just weird that he's immediately like trying to kill his best friend.
Yeah.
No. Again, like we've been saying, no lead up to it. Like no. I mean, yeah. There's the issue with Michael not wanting to give him the cure because it's going to turn him into a vampire. Mm-hmm. But like that's not immediately going to make...
Yeah, that's like base enough for you to be like, oh, like this person who is my best friend throughout my entire life, now I instantly want to take their life because they didn't provide me with this cure. Yeah,
and not only like want to take their life, but like being his almost singular mission at that point.
Yes, yeah.
Is to kill his best friend. Mm-hmm. And it was very tropey. It was very it was, I don't know, it was just kind of lazy.
Yeah, I think that end of the second act coming to the third act of this movie is where this movie failed, really, for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I really didn't mind a lot of the campiness in it and some of the things that were cheesy. I'm here for some camp. And the like, who are you? I am Venom, which is another thing that I think we should touch on it real quick.
Real quick, because I will say, it was funny in the trailer, but the fact that they left out the line, "I'm just kidding. It's your neighborhood Dr. Morbius at your service." That line was much better to follow up with.
I actually
because after he's breaking his hand, and then he's like, "I'm a doctor." Like,
yeah, I liked that line better. To be honest, in my opinion, I like that better because he's a doctor, and then he's actually telling him how to heal it.
Yeah.
Hey, take some Advil. I liked that in the movie better.
No, but it would have been better. Like he's doing that while he's breaking his hand.
Yeah.
Say that I'm Dr. Michael Morbius at your service. A couple weeks and some aspirin, and you'll be fine.
Okay.
Then send him off.
The two of them together. Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, again, moving into the third act of this movie is essentially where we get the confrontation. Morbius realizes that he has to, because their caretaker, who's played by, I don't know the actor's name off the top of my head.
I wrote it down. It is, let's find it, Jared Harris.
Jared Harris, who
was Moriarty in the Sherlock films, in Sherlock 2.
And then he was also in Mad Men. He was very good in Mad Men. I believe he was the accountant. I can't think of that character.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
He's a great actor.
But he's essentially their caretaker, I guess, if you will.
I guess he's more...
He's more of a father figure,
he's more Milo's,
like a surrogate
He's more
dad.
Milo's caretaker, and and then Morbius is like mentor, father figure.
And essentially after his death...
Which again, he didn't get much screen time either.
He didn't, and his death really wasn't impactful because they really didn't allow enough time for them to develop their relationship and into why it should have meaning to you as a viewer.
And again, too, because at that point, because Milo's gone so maniacal about, he's just on a mission to kill Michael for a reason, then it's and you could argue this is pent up angst, but you know what? In a movie, you kind of have to flesh that shit out. You can't just assume. Mm-hmm. Then he's like just mad because Michael's always your favorite, and then kills him, and then straight up Bond villain send a message to Michael for me.
And again, for me, this is where this movie really started to take off, like on the deep end, where I was just like, this kind of got not enjoyable. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of really like the CGI on the changing of the faces and things like that.
They made it look really good on Jared Leto. Like I feel like they were consistent with Jared Leto. With Matt Smith,
it kind of there was some times where it looked good. There was some times where it didn't.
Which is funny because Matt Smith, he's not Jared Leto. I mean, Jared Leto has long hair. He's always had long hair and Matt Smith is he's a very distinct hairstyle, and you can see his face. He's a very distinct facial structure. So you think you kind of put a little bit extra work on his face because it's going to be the most visible.
Yeah, and there were times
where it looked silly.
And so yeah, I mean,
there was actually one time I remember. I think it was the scene in the subway, and I was like, he looks like the Master from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was a fucking pullover mask.
No,
probably not pullover. It was probably latex. But this is like CGI.
It looked really bad. But, so we get into, again, the concept of that now. At this point, Milo has found out that Martine actually does know where Michael Morbius is, and
which again, how he literally
echolocation.
No, I know.
Echolocation. No, you don't think he knows how to use it?
No, I know that, and I didn't like that the echolocation in the ears made their ears all wiggly. It kind of actually
spider sense.
It actually kind of creeped me out. It gave me like he had worms in his ear.
It was ear mites.
But that was the thing. So Michael and Martine meet up at the coffee shop, and that was a funny joke of like when he reaches for the coffee in the sunlight, he's like. Sorry.
Oh,
that was a funny joke.
They had some good vampire jokes.
They had some great vampire jokes.
Again, the holy water one is really funny.
Yeah. But then he like goes across the street. No, he follows a couple like ne'er-do-wells. Yeah, ne'er-do-wells. Some thugs.
Oh, into their
money print shop and makes a makeshift lab. Martine didn't know that shit. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a trope. It's a trope that he goes, I'm gonna kidnap your love interest, and get you. And then of course that's how Michael figures it out. Goes and chases him down. He had made another. Oh no, she actually did go to the lab. I forgot that. Never mind. I forgot that. She did know where she knew where his new lab was. But Milo never looks for it. At least maybe that's where he found her. I don't know. Again, things are not quite properly explained, especially going near the end.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So Milo kidnaps Martine, which we haven't really touched much on her because I kind of feel like their love,
in my opinion,
story was
she was akin to Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman in this movie. It wasn't necessary. It was a character that's thrown in there to be a driving interest of the plot. But realistically, because they don't fully flesh out those characters together, it doesn't fall flat, and it's really not. It's not.
It does fall flat.
It does fall flat, yeah. And it's not an important topic.
No,
it's really not an important topic to touch on her because she's his colleague and love interest, and really that's all she is.
Yeah.
Like
Milo alludes to them being in love.
Yeah, but
like you never kind of see them really.
Yeah, other than the one scene where they're kissing and he's watching them kiss, and that's the first time that we've ever seen their interaction become physical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not worthy of touching on. It's really not that important, and so.
And that's what I said. Like the end gets very tropey with him kidnapping the girl, and then Michael hears him threatening her, or whatever the fuck it was he was saying. I can't remember.
It was threatening her. He was telling her to call out for Michael.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. And he learned to fly in the subway, which.
I liked that kind of because he was getting an understanding of
oh no, yeah, but,
but
the sort of inky, blotty, bleedy thing of how he moved.
I liked that again.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I
didn't mind it. It's just there were certain times, there were certain points where it got a little bit too much. Mm-hmm. They could have played it down a little bit more. But yeah, so Michael finds Martine on a rooftop, of course, because also on a disco dance floor on a rooftop.
And she's drained.
She's been bitten, or she's been, I don't know if she's been bitten,
she was drained. Yeah. And she essentially is. Or I don't think she was actually. You're right. And
I think he just hurt her. I think he just hurt her, and she was dying.
Yeah, and then she draws her own blood so that he will drain her, as her being the catalyst that her blood will help him get enough power to stop Milo.
But first, kisses him so hard and bites his lip, so his blood gets in her mouth.
Oh yeah, and then that happened. There was that too. Yeah, and then so we get.
Sorry, I almost blacked out from stupidity.
So then we get the fight scene, and we haven't obviously touched on the fight scenes before because I really think all the other ones prior to this are moot point because realistically you get the fight
they're
scene
all
at the
kind of
end.
pretty much the same.
They're pretty much the same. Yeah, it's a lot of Matrix-y style effects, a lot of CGI. I think a lot of cool angles though. The angles.
A lot of cool angles in some of the slow motion scenes.
Yeah, slow motion scenes work really well.
The CGI not looking wonderful didn't help that a lot sometimes in certain shots, but it still was cool. And it was, I'm not gonna always knock bad CGI or like just less than okay CGI.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
you can't get that shit perfect every time.
And you know the one thing that I like about these kind of fight scenes when they use characters like this, like obviously we know that they have like superhuman strength and you know they're very durable, things like that. I mean this was an all-out Dragon Ball Z brawl. I mean it was very like and it was great to just watch them just throwing each other across the city.
That's the thing. But that's still my thing though. It's just like, dude, like you guys have been best friends forever, and the whole time Milo was like saying that, but like also just straight up trying to kill him, like no holds barred, just like getting a pipe and just beating the shit out of him. He cuts him open at one point. Like it's very visceral and very brutal. There was something else I was about to say, and then I just forgot it. It hit my. Oh, that was another thing. The other kind of stupid thing about Milo was that, and again, this is also kind of a tropey thing that, the bad guy always figures out their abilities immediately. We follow the good guy trying to figure it out. What can I do? And then like the bad guy gets similar powers or the same powers. In this case, he becomes a vampire too, and immediately he's just like, I know how to fly.
Yeah, I figured it out. I figured out everything. And so,
I guess pure anger and like not thinking about things rationally can do that. Sure. But
he feeds into his more primal instincts.
I guess
that's how it works. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so.
Yeah.
But we get to the end fight scene, and again, really fun. A lot of CGI. I thought it was pretty fun. This was the one saving grace in the third act, until
Morbius pulls out his finisher move.
Yeah, his finisher move, and literally Hadoukens Milo with a bunch of bats. Which I mean,
literally Hadouken.
And then again for this movie, I was like, why? Like, and you know what this reminded me of? This reminded me of in Let There Be Carnage when, oh my gosh, Carnage. I was trying to think of Carnage's name outside of Carnage, but
Cletus Cassidy.
Cletus Cassidy, thank you. When he does that little tornado thing? And
in the prison.
Yeah, in the prison, and you're like, where the fuck did this come from? Like, why do you have this? Like,
because that was in Maximum Carnage, the video game in Sega Genesis back in 1996.
Yeah, I guess I missed this one in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 that Morbius was a playable character and he could Hadouken bats. Like, I thought
it was Darkstalkers.
Darkstalkers. There you go. I just thought it's so cheesy.
I will say though, it was cheesy, but it looked really cool.
It did look really cool, but it was just it's like this is like, thank you Sony for giving at least like Disney Marvel the rights to do Spider-Man, because this is where you're ruining these characters. We're gonna get into where they're ruining. There's other reasons why they're ruining the characters, but. You take a movie like this that I think could have been good. That I think that the idea was right, but it didn't work out. And especially because of things like this. This is where you really start to fuck these movies up.
Yeah, it could have been
just doing stupid fucking things like Hadoukening bats.
And focusing on
so that he can inject him with something that not only it kills bats, but it also kills humans.
Yeah.
As if either of those things matter. It needs to kill bats and humans. It doesn't. It just kills them. It kills the person, kills the being, kills the living thing. It just doesn't, and that's where this movie, didn't work out for me. But
it starts getting so tropey.
It just gets ridiculous, and so we'll wrap up.
And I think you missed. So again, why I almost fainted from stupidness is Martine turns and wakes up after dying.
I heard that, and now we know she's a vampire.
Yeah, now we know she's a vampire. But again, it's like the last 2 shots of the movie, not even a post-credit scene. It's just he's flying through the city after killing Milo, which again, he literally made 2 of those doses to kill himself. If Martine's dead, just off yourself. You don't want to be this, off yourself.
Yeah. Why are you trying to stay?
So what's with this glory shot of him flying through the city? Only to then He doesn't even pass by her building. It just shows her face and she opens her eyes. It was fucking stupid and lazy. Then we get into the mid-credit scene, which, again, as I said earlier, soured this movie for me. It salted this movie a lot for me. This and the post-credit scene soured this movie a lot. We get the terror over New York City, and Adrian Toomes is transported into a cell I'm assuming Rikers or some other prison.
He was magically whisked away to Delaware.
Yes. Wow, nice. And wow, I'm in Delaware. Hope the food's better here.
Yeah, I hope the food's better here.
And so,
we have no idea why he's there.
And then we get a news report that like this Adrian Toomes like just randomly appeared in this
cell.
And he's gonna be exonerated of all charges because he's in a prison jumpsuit. He's sus. Just keep him in jail. You don't know why. Don't let him loose. The guy he probably doesn't have a social security number. Like he probably doesn't have a driver's license. Like he doesn't exist in your universe. Why are you letting him out of jail? He appeared in a jail cell.
Yeah, there's no reason to question him, figure out where he came from.
I know our judicial system sucks.
But it's not that bad,
it's not right? Like glaring oversights.
This is
and again, so then we get
clearly not Police Academy.
Yeah, no. Then we get him coming out in handcuffs, and this is where we in the trailer saw it. Hey, doctor, we should keep in touch, which was not in the movie.
Was not in this movie. Yep. And we get the end credit scene.
And then we get the end credit scene.
And we have
boy.
Dr. Michael Morbius driving off grid because at this point wherever he's
he has to be international something.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay, so he's in the international desert of I don't know, somewhere in the fucking United States. I'm assuming. I don't know, just somewhere off grid.
Anywhere USA.
Yeah, anywhere USA in a desert off grid where I guess Google Maps' car has not driven through these roads yet in this universe. At least in this universe.
And he is greeted by none other than Adrian Toomes
as the Vulture.
Horseshit. Absolute fucking horseshit.
Looks like he's doing a little Tom Petty, learning how to fly again.
He seemed exactly proficient. That's not the problem. Here's the problem. Sony, I mean this sincerely. Stop it. Stop it. Stop trying to shove a Sinister Six movie down our throats. Stop it. Fucking stop it. Because literally the last line in this movie, and this is what salted it, and this is why I got so angry, and I couldn't even think about a good thing about this movie last night, and I didn't think about it today, was, hey, Doc, thanks for meeting me. You and me, we should probably team up. Fuck you! Stop it! Stop trying to force this down our throats. I'm being dead serious. I'll watch it when it comes out, but stop trying to so hard to force it down our throats. Like it's not even natural. It's not natural. It doesn't make sense. Vulture. Okay. And also, this guy who literally appeared out of nowhere in a universe he doesn't belong in, which also doesn't make sense from the fucking fact of No Far From Home.
It doesn't make sense.
Unless we're now inferring that there is a Spider-Man in this universe.
That's one thing I wanted to touch on. So finish your part.
Let me finish my little rant here.
Yes, let's hear it.
But so this guy who literally has probably no social security number, no access to funds, no access to technology, no access to anything, rebuilds the exact same glider.
Ooh, didn't think about that.
And then contacts like, because think about it, in Homecoming, like, he wasn't exactly a bad guy. I mean, he was a bad guy, but like he wasn't exactly like he was a businessman who got fucked over and went down a dark route. Yeah. But he had resources, he had money, he had a team. He was stealing Chitauri tech, which powered his glider. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now he's just in some universe. So he scrounged. Would he go to the junkyard and scrounge up a bunch of stuff? Yeah. I get it. He's an engineer. He could probably do stuff like that. But again, with what resources? I don't know. It just that was
is a
bonkers to me.
fucking plot hole. That is a fucking
it's not even a
huge
plot hole.
hole.
It's just a glaring, like, it's just a blaring contrivancy.
That's a nice word.
I know. I like it.
Throw that fucking definition down there.
It just made no sense. And again, for another fucking Sinister Six plug.
I know we get a lot of those teases. We get a lot of those teases for a long time in all these
And
Spider-Man
just stop
movies,
it.
and
Just
Spider-Man related movies.
Yeah, it just ever since the Amazing Spider-Man, it's just what and the Amazing Spider-Man was what 8, 9 years
probably
ago.
like 10 years ago. At this point,
You know,
we'll have to look it up. It'll be there. It'll be there. Check yourself.
No.
So
We're not doing check yourself.
all right. Well, we're gonna do it. So anyway, that was one thing that I thought about too before we move on to our monkeys. What I thought was interesting is why Adrian Toomes ended up in this universe. You know, because obviously when we get to the end of No Way Home, we have all of these. Everything's reverted back to their own universe. So it's kind of weird to. I hope that with whatever they decide to do going forward, I hope that they do explore the reason as to why he ended up in a different universe.
Well, you have it now.
And again, we're clearly, I think we can both come to the consensus that he is in Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man universe.
Well, I don't want to come to that consensus.
That's that's my consensus.
That is an ongoing popular theory that the Venomverse and Sony Spider-Verse are the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man universe. I don't want to come to that consensus. What I like to think is that when that tear opens up, that's actually the first tear. When the way Doc Ock got through, Green Goblin got through,
Electro
Sandman. And Sandman Lizard, how they got into the MCU. I think Adrian Toomes got pulled over to this universe.
Oh.
And so that first tear is how he got pulled over, but that means this is kind of taking place
simultaneously.
Well, just before, and then the post-credit scenes are just after the initial tear in Far From Home, and then he would need to then be reverted back when Doctor Strange does the corrective spell.
You're literally building a web out of this timeline.
Ooh, web.
So, all right. Well, let's go.
Again, it just. I mean, either way, it's stupid and pointless and just.
And we'll figure it out someday. Right?
We will.
Sony and Marvel will have to come together. We'll have to get a conclusion to this story that they're.
Sony, you need your toys taken away.
Conclusion to the story that they're building.
Sony, you need your toys taken away because you're like a little kid who has Barbie dolls, but you keep just getting them naked for no reason and then cutting their heads off. Like, that's what Sony is. Sony's like kids who play with their toys wrong.
So, let's go ahead and get into the monkeys.
Yes.
Do you want to start off? Do you want me to start off?
I will let my head literally combust in flames. You can go.
Okay. Per usual.
Per usual.
So, you know what? I'm gonna give Morbius a 6 out of 12. Because, again, for me, this movie wasn't that bad. It was fun. A lot of lazy editing. Some lazy storytelling in this movie. A lot of lazy storytelling. Especially lazy storytelling. But, and I'm going to be honest right now, I am fucking not a fan of Jared Leto at all. Like, I am not a fan. We have discussed this, but so our viewers know I'm not a fucking fan of Jared Leto. He actually did not bother me that much in this movie. I actually felt he did an okay job in this, and it really didn't bother me. So, you know, that's obviously a point up for this.
We'll talk up on screen why you hate Jared Leto so much.
But yeah, I mean, again, like, it was cool to see this character come to the screen. I like the idea of using, you know, kind of, I don't want to say like off-brand, but characters that aren't as well known. I like to see them get their screen time. You know, I wasn't like you. I was a fan of Morbius growing up, not like super fan, but I knew some of his storylines and I enjoyed them. And I enjoyed his character. It was fun to see that fleshed out on screen. You know, fight scenes were fun in this. There was some good jokes. There was some good humor there. I liked the horror aspect that they tried to do in this. I actually succeeded really well for me as well. And so again, but you know, again with this movie, I don't know why Sony just tends to like really like have a good concept and then really just drive it into the fucking ground at the end of it. And they just continue to do that, and it's just really unfortunate because I do think that this is one of the few movies that I've ever seen that I could honestly say one deserved a sequel because this movie itself needed to flesh out the origin story for this character better. And I never fucking say that, but this movie did.
Yeah.
Sony didn't do that. So hopefully you can take this character and do something better with it. But again, 6 out of 12 for me on Morbius.
Yeah, I'm going the exact same. I actually probably would have given it a little bit higher had the end credits stuff. Just the way it ended in general and the end credit stuff not completely soured the rest of it for me. Because you're right. The horror element was great. I think the acting for the most part, barring some cheesy lines here and Matt Smith's dance scene, which we don't need to talk about. It was funny though. I mean, come on. Like it was funnier. It was funnier than Tobey Maguire's because think about it. The guy hasn't been able to fucking.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, let the guy dance.
That's true. That's true. Let them eat cake.
And he was already sitting in a gaudy ass gold apartment. He's probably already a bit of a douche. So whatever. And to a song that I believe the lyric was like, "Let them have sex" or something. It was something crazy like that. But so my overall feelings. I feel it started out really strong with you could tell there was just like there was some. I would love to see a director's cut of this. Yeah. Actually, like a longer director's cut. To see, what the fuck he did at the Nobel Peace Prize award ceremony, to see a little bit more fleshed out of him and Martine, see a little bit more fleshed out of him and Milo, and even him and the doctor, his mentor. I would like to see a little bit more of that because that's where this movie ended up started lacking, and it's one of those things where as the movie progressed, it kept lacking more and more in certain little elements. It was chipping away at certain elements to probably fit a runtime because the studio probably didn't really believe in it because it's fucking Sony.
And also to fit the narrative. It was trying to chip away at those things to force it into the narrative.
Tighten the narrative or force certain things in or give certain things more screen time than they really deserved. Because, trite fucking certain studios they're bad at making, and Sony is one of them, bad at making really trite storylines, like they're always focusing on a love interest or Warner Brothers is also guilty of it. Always has to be a love interest. You can't have a movie without if there's not a love interest. Like what are you even doing? Why are you making a movie then? There's no love in this movie. There's no weird forced awkward we barely like each other kind of love. That's not a movie. Anyway, sorry, I don't know where that came from. I was possessed. 6 out of 12. CGI was, it wasn't great all the time, but I'll forgive it. Yeah. It wasn't like so bad.
And I think the last thing that I would like to point out in regards to Venom and Morbius, obviously being Sony movies, Sony Marvel movies, they really just need to give these movies a rated R rating. I mean, these are obviously not these are not lighthearted characters. Let them be the visceral characters that they are. But with that being said, hey everyone, we hope you really enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Tell your friends, tell your friends to tell your friends, and their friends to tell their friends. With that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and finish our 6 packs of artificial blood, and we hope you all have a good night. Bye-bye!
Yeah, we pull something from any of it.
We got
the tests or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Cool. All right. So, welcome back, everybody. We are the two guys from nowhere. Go for it.
Hi, my name's Brian, and I'm a vampire.
She gets so quiet. Alright, girls, pajamas.
We have it on camera. We have proof that it's time to go to bed. Because we got it on camera.
You're on camera now. We'll put you in the next video. Actually, I don't know that. She said she was a vampire. I think that we could use that one. That's okay. If we
Maybe I
can't
should bring out the real vampire.
if we can't find something better.
If you girls don't go to bed, the vampire's coming out.
Don't give them nightmares before they go to bed.
Or like
I don't know.
whatever 6 times 6 is 38.
Sure.
36.
Yep.
All right. Math is fun.
Yeah.
Stay in school.
I mean, 5 times 6. 5 times 6
It's
is
30.
30. So
Plus 6.
hey,
Hey. All
process
right.
of deduction.
Oh my God. Elementary, my dear Watson.
Elementary.
Elementary. Hey, I mean, but he's a monster. Elementary. Elementary, no. All right. Din, 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 din,
Psycho Gore Man.
din.
Yeah.